Well, hello everybody. Let's see. So look, fellas, there's two of me. I kind of like rhymed there for a minute. That was like pathetic. I didn't actually intend to do that. But yeah, look, there's two. So I've been playing around with some settings in, well, this is the A10 Mini. It's this thing over here that I often talk about. It's the video switcher. And so I've also been playing around with it. Now, I'm not really all that sure of it on a live stream. But I've been using it to record a lot of the footage lately, especially with two camera setups. So I wanted to show you guys some stuff that I've been doing like today, and well, in the past too, but some of the stuff you'll probably already see. I'm going to be releasing a bunch of videos. And the idea is like particularly for like camera shots of on the bench when you're doing like a carburetor or something small. Problem is, like, an overhead view is kind of neat, right? But it's weird. It's not a normal way that us as humans, like, look. It's always a bit of an angle. And I'd like to have a camera view where my toolbox is, but I don't know where to put the toolbox. Like, where you're kind of, like, in front of the workbench, facing me, but down. So it's, like, a bit of a top view and then, like, leaning downward. But I don't know where to put that little toolbox yet. So let me show you guys some stuff. I hope everybody's okay. TJ, good evening. And Viggy, and let's see, Jamie O, and Jake, and yeah, whoever else is out there, leave a comment. So I wanted to show you guys a couple of those things. It's kind of cold out. I just got my heater working again. It broke. It's been acting up, and it's cold and rainy. It's like we might as well just have snow at this point, right? Because it's like a winter day. Kind of cool though. Cool in like, as in like cool as in Kewl cool. I think it's kind of nice, right, to have, like, before we really get into the heat, to have a, you know, we had like a couple of days, like one day was like 80, had my shirt off, I was cutting along and stuff, you know, like all commando and everything. And then it got cool again, and now it's kind of cold. So I was like working on my heater earlier, and while I'm trying to do this picture-in-picture thing that I'm playing around with now, and also just like a bunch of other stuff, working on a job and for a customer, and then working on a project that I'm working on, right, for everybody. So doing all this stuff. So a couple of things I just want to hit today. So like customers' stupid questions, right? Well, not really customer, because there's only so much room to write stuff. It's not so much customers, because I got a couple of customers recently ask me, yeah, it does feel like it's going to snow, DJ. Like, it's really windy. It's supposed to calm down a little bit. Not so much like the paying customers, but like the people on like Messenger or Marketplace, and they ask you kind of really dumb questions, you know? Like, it's just like the simplest things are like, you know, like a lot of the auto response stuff, or the stuff that they click on and it's kind of like auto response. I get it, right? But then when they actually go to say something, it's pretty weird. Again, camera shots and weird angles. I wanted to show you some footage. I wanted to see what you guys thought of it. And I'm trying to improve on it and learn how to do it, because that's another thing. And then this weekend is SatanCon. You guys going? Hey! So what's SatanCon, Arch? Well, like Comic-Con, right? All that stuff. Everybody like dresses up. People that are into games and gaming. You know, I used to be more into that. I'm not so much anymore. Or they just want to kind of do their own thing. Well, you know, fellas, the Satanists have their thing too. And I wanted to show you some cool stuff about that. So this weekend, maybe you could still make it before the weekend's out. You have tomorrow over in Boston. And they're going to be at the Capitol building, hanging out, doing their thing. And a bunch of statues that have been unveiled more recently. I think one was in Minnesota. And then another one was, let's see, in Arkansas, right? So I'll show you guys Baphomet, or otherwise known as Baal, right? Where they sacrifice children to their god, and they all dress up. And I think most of these people don't even know what the hell they're doing. It's just like a cool get up, and they can kind of play heavy metal music and put tattoos all over their body of like Satan stuff, and flip this and everything else. So we'll probably cover a little bit of that. And it's kind of more of like a free form tonight because, well, you know, I just felt like coming on. I didn't come on last week. I wanted to say hey to everybody and just show you what I was up to, find out what you guys were up to, and tell me about what you guys are doing. And, you know, I can go in any direction. So, you know, because I'm totally lost most of the time anyway. So I was playing around. I'm like, geez, I hope it's the thermostat. So I put this heating system in, I don't know, years ago. And I was like, it was been acting up. It's like not coming on, right? You try to switch it on and off, and it got cold. And I'm like, well, I really need to solve this now, right? Because it's not uncomfortably cold in here, but it's cold, especially in the morning. And if I don't fix it now, like today, right? You know, let's say it starts to get like really warm over the next couple of days, and then I forget about it. And then the worst thing is like, you know, come fall, you're not really thinking about it. All of a sudden you get that really freezing cold day, and it sucks having to fix stuff. This is an old Honeywell thermostat. I don't know if any of you guys recognize like one of these. This is a commercial style. I used to sell a lot of these. I used to install this stuff and make control panels and control systems around thermostats and controllers and, you know, PLC logic and motor controls and all that. And I didn't have, look at it, it's like, this thing's really gross. Look at it. It's in the shop for, I don't know, 15 years, maybe more. I don't know. I don't even remember. You know, when you get old like me, it's like, you can't even put things in terms of, you know how you measure stuff. It's like, well, I remember the flood, right? Noah was around. And, you know, I remember when, like, Jesus was around, right? It's like you try to put some kind of significance on something, but you can't because you just lose track of time. So I don't know what happened to it. The base plate is still on the wall. It's actually a two-piece thing. And it's got these nice little pigtails, right, that you can use, connect everything. And I'm like, oh, I'll even change the battery and I'll even set the time. And I brought the big ladder out and I had a fight with the, you know, it's outside, like hanging on the building. Had a fight with that in the wind and the rain. And geez, I hope it's like nothing serious. Well, it's so far, it seems to be just the thermostat. Because I don't have any money, right? You know, so it's like really hard to fix stuff when everything is broken. This box is disgusting. Let me get it out of here. It's just gross. Everything's been sitting around for a while. So fortunately, you know, I had that job for a long time, but like everything, it disappeared. And fortunately, you know, I kept a few things thinking, because I knew they would break. You know, I used to sell them and replace them and troubleshoot them, among many other things. And I was like, well, I'll keep one around. And I'm like thinking, like, where the hell did I see that? Like, maybe it's just the thermostat. We'll plug it in. I checked it with the ohm meter and everything, and it seemed like it could be working. But these things can lie to you, right? They have these switching circuits inside of them that will show a voltage even though there really is no ass behind it. Like, it's like a voltage that is almost like a ghost voltage, and you really need a load on the contacts to see, is the voltage really there? It's like a weird thing. I don't know how to explain it. The way the impedance is on some of these switching devices, there are relays in them, but the PLC logic through the transistors, they have to have some kind of a load on them in order for you to actually measure whether or not a relay is pulled in or if it's sending a signal to a relay. And so I measured it. I'm like, well, here we go again. I'm getting something, but I nobody's home. So fortunately, it was that. All right, so let's go to the next thing. Let me see. You guys got to give me a little bit because, you know, I wanted to show you something here. So I'm playing around with PIP. And let's see, let me bring up my monitor. We'll go do the right monitor. That should be this one. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. Check this out. Now, so this is some footage. I was playing around with PIP. Hold on. I'm going to move it to the other monitor. Let's pull this back and put a big screwdriver in there to hold it. Let me turn it down a little bit. So I'm working on a motor. This one will work. And it needs just need enough. It's leaking from the bottom. I'm trying to save a nice lawnmower, and it's leaking from the bottom of the seal. So I wanted to do, you know, how to like replace the seal and pull apart the motor. Anyway. And I thought, well, I'll use 2 camera angles. Here we go. To show some of this. So I came up with this configuration, and it was a weird setup. I didn't like the way the cameras were angled. But it was like my first iteration. Here, let's back up a little bit. All right. See, now you can see inside the motor. But it's not focusing right because the camera is on this weird angle on the right. The left picture is good because it's actually a better camera.
So we're all ready to assemble. That's it.
Let's see. Let's go back a little bit more. All right. Yeah, I can see here. I'm trying to show the inside of the motor, and a little bit of it looks out of focus. Now, keep in mind, the camera on the right is not as good as the camera on the left. So the camera on the right is looking down. It may seem like it's a slight angle, but it's really not. And the better camera is on the left. The better camera I can't hang overhead because I don't have a stand strong enough to do that yet. That would require something like a C-stand, which is a very different, animal. They're expensive. Now, I just did this one. And this is just like a quick carburetor thing for a project I'm working on. And I just wanted to show the carb as part of the footage. And I recorded another segment, but I thought I did, but I never pressed the record button because it was getting late and I was tired.
Because it ran.
All right. So I think that kind of looks pretty good. Kind of like that. So I actually pulled the carburetor apart real quick, and I just cleaned it out because the customer got water in their fuel. So for those of you out there, I warn you, right? This whole business of water in the fuel is just, at the beginning of the year, it's just absolutely horrible. I've been putting out a bunch of videos on it. I think that looks pretty cool. I'm playing around with the magnification. Those of you that are on your phone, leave a comment. Because one of the mistakes I make is, let me close this out for a minute. Hold on. Go back to me. One of the mistakes I often make is I forget that a lot of people nowadays are actually looking on their phone. And also want to remind everybody that when you want to view anybody's YouTube, turn it widthwise, right? It's going to help a lot. Because only shorts, and some of you know I've been making shorts lately, and they actually do pretty good. Thanks for watching, fellas. They do pretty well, but everything has to be filmed in it is 9:6 is essentially what it is to me, right? How I have to shoot it and edit it. And that is really hard. You can't show anything. Like a lawnmower will not fit. In order for me to take like an entire picture of a lawnmower, I'd have to be so far away from it in order to get the whole lawnmower in. Whereas if you just go widthwise, right, you don't have to be really far. You can actually get fairly close to it and get the entire lawnmower in, just as a representation of size. So doing a 9:6, you have to get so close to everything, and then I have to stand in a very narrow field of view. Everything I shoot has to be in a narrow field of view. I don't shoot in 9:6. I just don't do it. So I shoot everything in widescreen, and then I have to stretch it and shrink it down and reformat it to fit in a 9:6 so I can make a short. Mostly because it's easier for me to use the equipment I have, because this is an older iPhone, which I got from my daughter. Thanks, Dee, if you're listening. And it just isn't good enough for a lot of what I'm doing. And it's my phone, so it's always going off and making noises. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to use that. Let me take this off. So I said, well, scratch that idea. I wanted to see what you guys are up to. Just kind of hang out a little bit tonight and show you guys some weird stuff. So between the shorts, which is very short, you got 1 minute to put whatever you're going to put in there. And it's very hard to do because how do you really, you can't get into any kind of like diagnostic. Most of what I do is like long format. And even trying to get it into 45 minutes or a half an hour, for me, is difficult. I struggle with it. So I usually, either make a bunch of videos out of one thing, or I just give up and just say, well, the heck with it. Let me get comfortable here. sit down for a nice long one. So I was playing around again today, and I'm like, all right, well, since I kind of learned how to do a short, and I've been getting better at the half-hour videos, so, well, what can I do with the equipment? I've been playing around with picture-in-picture, and there's a bunch of ways to do it. I'm not going to understand how to do it if I don't experiment with it. Some of the earlier things that I even did, which I don't know if you guys have seen any of it yet. I don't even know if I released it, because I do so many videos that they don't all get published. And they don't all get published right away. So I don't even remember. So I know I've been like working with it for a while, and I'm like, all right, well, how wide can I make it? How tall can I make it? I started off a little small, and I thought, well, a couple of you fellas have reminded me that, Arch, some of us, watch this stuff on our phones. Can you get better close-ups? And in a little picture-in-picture box, yeah, you could get close, but if the thing's too big, right, that's just uncomfortable. And the idea of picture-in-picture or split screen is that if I come from the side when I'm shooting a video, it's very likely my hand will be in the way, like this shot right here. So let me go back to it. If you look at this shot, right, on the right, you can actually see the carburetor that I'm holding. And I'm not really showing anything in particular at this moment, but you could see it. But on the left, you can't see anything, right? All you see is my hand. But there might be a good shot occasionally on the left, and I would catch it this way. Tony says, Tony's on a 55-inch. Let's see, why are you sending me a message? Write it on the thing. Look, oh, he's sending me a message of, hold on, wait. Let me come back to me. Hold on. So, let me see. On a 55-inch, oh my God, looks like I'm there. How do I get this bigger? How do you get it bigger? Wait. Oh, let's see. Oh, that's a little bit bigger. Can I turn it widthwise now? Yeah, here we go. That's on Tony's screen. All right, just a quick. Nice. Let's see. See, you turn it widthwise, right? And whereas opposed to, see what it does to the image, right? And so most of us, like nowadays, like Tony's on a 55, right? And I had this discussion with a friend of mine. He's not into YouTube or anything per se. He's into movies and stuff, but he knows, the technology. And we're kind of arguing back and forth. YouTube does have the option for 4K. So I do shoot a lot in 4K. But I can't shoot everything in 4K because both of my cameras are not 4K. Only one is in 4K. So then I get a lot of mixed stuff in my videos because I'll use the cheaper camera for like B-roll or sometimes I just use it for most of the roll, which is 1080p, 1920 by 1080. So that's a conundrum, right? So my computer's pretty powerful, but it's not really modern, and if I try to edit in 4K, it slows down and it gets a bit glitchy, and it's just, when you're scrubbing back and forth, it's not as sweet. So then I figured out how you go about setting everything up in like a 1080p environment, and then you record in that environment, and it doesn't matter even if I add some 4K footage, I drop it in a 1080p environment, I edit it in that, it goes smoother. And then I save the video two ways. I save it in 4K, and then I upload it to YouTube, which takes forever. And I also save it in 1080p, and I throw out the 4K because it's huge. Like, the file size is huge. I'm like, I can't afford to see all this stuff, and who cares? So that's what I've been doing. Now, in a 4K, you don't really need a 4K monitor to see things in 4K. What it winds up doing is YouTube and your TV or phone or computer monitor, it will rescale things so that it fits in the screen. The nice thing about the 4K is it's like pixel saturation. The pixels are better. There's more of them in a denser field, and the picture quality is better. And so by uploading in 4K, you get the benefit even in 1080p of a slightly better image. And then the third thing is, really the third or fourth thing is that I found out, even just, like my monitors are 1080p, they're not 4K. Does it still come up like that? Yeah, see? So they're, by the way, this monitor's working good still, right? So I replaced the burned out capacitor in it. So in 1080p, right, for me, that's as high as I can see even in my editing. But what I noticed is that if I upload a video in 1080p to YouTube has the auto detection feature. So it auto detects what I uploaded it in. And then when you go to play, me or you go to play a video, depending upon what you're playing it on, if you leave it in auto, when it sees a 1080p of my kind of file, and I'm speaking mostly for what I've seen of my stuff that I upload. I can't say this is true for everybody because I don't know. But what it'll do, sometimes it'll select a 720p or like a 480 or 460, whatever it is, the number resolution below it. And there was a bunch of times when I was like trying to watch my videos on YouTube to see how they looked. I'm like, why does it look like crap? It didn't look like crap in the editor. It doesn't, my cameras aren't crap. What went wrong? That's what I found out, is that it will sometimes auto-select a much lower resolution. I don't know why it does that. It's pretty good at its auto detection feature. If I upload as 4K, the worst case scenario is it will choose 1080p. So, which is really the native resolution of what I record. So even if it won't go so far down to like 720 or whatever. I've never seen it do that. But the worst case is it might default to 1080p. So that's kind of how I've been learning about, like, you know, what do you record in and whatever. Now, a lot of my videos now, if I'm not recording to the video card, or I should say to the camera card, I'm actually recording off of the sensor because it comes through the wire into this switcher, and it's really what the back of the screen is seeing on the camera, which is a very high resolution 1080p. Even in 4K, it really is, I think it really is more like a 1080. And the switcher here is really more rated for 1080. I don't know how well it does with 4K, whatever. I don't know. I haven't really tried it. Even on the 4K camera, I believe it's only really truly 4K when it's recording to its local card. So when most of the time, in a lot of the videos that I do, I don't actually record to the camera card. I'm generally recording straight in through the switcher into the computer, unless I'm using this camera. No, that camera, right? That camera here. Right, that's actually the cheaper camera with the better lens on it for tonight. That one I'll use a lot of B-roll on it. Well, sometimes even the whole video might even be in it, but that's a cheaper camera. It only does 1080p. It doesn't have as many features. It's not as nice. You know, it's like the first one in the series. And it looks pretty good here. It's got the better lens on it. They don't really have any good kind of image stabilization, so that's another progress forward, I hope, in the future. If ever I have money again, right, I want to get not necessarily a better camera per se, because those are very expensive, but I want to get more of like an action camera that does image stabilization just for certain shots. It might be a GoPro, one of the new ones, or it might be a different one, because GoPros have a lot of problems. Right? A lot of guys complain about them all the time. They don't record, they stop recording, the battery dies, it's just, they glitch. People lose footage, you know, and everything I take is really one shot for the most part, except for some intros, or I might have to rehearse or fool around with like a short or something, because you're just so limited. But most of the stuff that I do, if I don't get it in the can right away, I ain't redoing it. Like I lost the shot of me putting taking the carburetor apart and just kind of quick cleaning it out. I'm not redoing that. The carburetor's already closed up. It's not that important. I'm not doing it. Especially not now, right? So that's like the direction I want to go. And it would be nice to maybe have a camera here or here. And then I can offer a point of view shot. So I can get a view of me like holding a carburetor and actually installing it, let's say, and then still have another view looking down or to the side or whatever, and I can pick and choose, and I can get that sort of feeling. Also, it might be nice because I like to do, for some of my outro shots and whatever, I like to do certain things and fool around a little bit. So I'm moving the camera, and I'm not a particularly good camera person, right? I drink too much coffee, I smoke too many cigarettes, I'm old, I got neurological conditions and whatever the hell else, and a bad back, and, you know, I'm like broken, right? So for me to like hold like a camera steady, right? You know, it's yeah, good luck, right? It's like this. I'm usually pretty good, but then I jerk it, or I sneeze, or I gotta clear my throat, or you know, whatever. I go to step on something and I didn't get my footing right, and the camera goes like this. And sometimes, you know, you see that. Another thing I learned too is like there's certain things that you don't do, and I see this with a lot of people that are pretty good YouTubers for the most part. They might be really popular. But what they'll do is they'll walk over to the camera and they'll grab the camera, they'll turn the knob to try to take the camera off the stand, right? And then, or to put it back on the stand, and then they grab the thing real quick, and you're going on for the ride. Like, they don't edit that out. So what I learned is, one, don't do that. And two, if you're going to speak, to say something that you think is important, do it before or after you go to move the camera. Never talk while you're grabbing the camera and moving it like that and trying to change its position. Just be patient, slow down, take the camera off the stand, right? Now you have it in your hand. Think about being a camera person for a minute. It's like shooting a gun, right? If you don't have a handle down here, you kind of go like this, and then hold the camera as best you can, collect your thoughts, and then start moving the camera wherever you want to move it, and then you can start speaking. And always leave like about 5 seconds, like especially if you turn the camera on. Don't start talking right away. Give it about 5 or 10 seconds. Wait a minute. Pick your nose, whatever you got to do, right? Clear your throat, and just wait. This way you can cut that out, right? So this is like some of the stuff that I've been learning, and I don't know if it makes a better video or not. I think it does, but some people are popular no matter what they do. Right? They could crap on camera and be like, yeah, that was awesome, you crapped on camera. That's not me, right? So anyway, I'm just kind of vamping, and we're going to move to the next thing, because it's, you know, I like live shows. I know like my videos and my channel is mostly about like lawnmowers, you know, making lawnmowers fun again, fellas, because it always was, right? Like it just happened to fell out of, you know, it fell out of favor, right? We're going to make lawnmowers fun again. But I like to kind of like, you know, vamp a little bit and just do something a little bit different, because for the most part, my videos are really about lawnmowers and small equipment, small engines. And, you know, my live shows are like just kind of Archie's crazy. You never know what the hell he's going to say. He's probably going to say something inappropriate. Like, you know, I want an opportunity on a live show to spread my legs a little bit. No, Arch, that's not what you mean. All right, fellas, I don't mean that. I mean like spread my wings, right? Not my legs, my wings. See, that's what I mean. I want to be able to like say something within YouTube's, you know, guidelines. So, you know, you never know. DJ says it looks really sharp. What looks sharp? Hey, Arch, how's it going, bud? So that's Dale Hill. What's up, Dale? What are you doing tonight? What looks sharp? Which one looks sharp? DJ. And there's Usha. Hey, brother. Listen to you as I clean my basement. Oh, fun, right? Did you find anything good in there? You find any like good stuff, good gear, old stuff, throwing out stuff? You know, let me know what you find in there. All right, anything in mine? You know, old bodies, you know, things like that. That's Usha. He's a gaming buddy, right? He's an old time gaming buddy. He's a friend of mine from going like way back. This is 2 ex-wives he found down there. Oh, that's good. That's good. Where are you going to put him now? Right? Are they still alive? So, what did I want to show you? I wanted to show you guys. Let me close this out for a minute. So, I enjoyed playing around with that and getting that kind of split screen thing. And it's new to me, right? I've never done it. I think it has some merit. And like I said, the most important thing is that if my hand were to get in the way of something, because I don't retake it, there's a good chance that I will catch something of a shot that will be worth something to somebody that's trying to see what the hell it is I'm shooting. Because, you know, I have a confidence monitor over here, which I just recently set up, but I can't always look at it because it's over here, you know, by where all my stuff is. It's over here. And I'm not always working at the table. I'm always usually over at the other table, right? The lift table. So I can't always look at it. I usually look at it when I'm setting up a shot to see if it's bright enough, you know, with the shot composure, you know, am I in focus, that kind of thing. But while I'm working, you know, I'm not really paying attention. And I think most of us YouTubers that are like working while we're trying to shoot, I think a lot of us have all of these problems, these same kind of problems, you know, over and over again. And like, how do you really know that? Because, you know, what our eyes, right? Our eyes see in dimmer light than the camera can see. We can stay in focus. The cameras have issues, especially with lower light. We're seeing the image in front of us. Unless I put a camera here or here, I'm going to have to put a camera somewhere else. And since I can't afford to put a camera here yet, I have to show an oblique angle. And that's not necessarily where I want to be. So I wanted to kind of skip over real quick. And I just want to see, I'll show you guys something. Let's go over to, I want to see what you guys thought of this. So I'm playing around. This is about to come out. Let's go. Can I play this? Yeah, I can play this if I mute my mic, I think. So I did like a different outro, I think it was, and I wanted to show you guys. This video is coming out. It's not out yet. Should I do it off of YouTube? I don't know. Let me see. How did I put the video? Let's see, let me move this. Let me see if I can find it. I might have moved it already. Yeah, I might have moved it. Hold on. I'm going to go to completed. I think this is it. Yeah. This might be it. Yeah, this is it. Hold on. Hold on. Now, to do this, I should shut my mic off. Probably. When I get to that point, I will. Let's see. I'll just bring it forward. So, I wanted to try something out. So I'm going to show this part here. Let me just check audio and everything. Transmission fluid mix. Mixed with gasoline. The idea behind that was I wanted to show, I didn't want this video to be long. It's actually a short, like 20-minute video of revamping a Toro. And I wanted to show my work, but I got kind of tired of just doing TJ says, love the sound of the music playing. Nice, John. Thanks, TJ. I wanted to show what I was doing, and I've shown this stuff before, and I narrate it, and you get to hear Arch going, blah, 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 blah. I was like, enough of the blah, blah, blah with Arch, right? Let's just shut this guy up, right? Sick of him. So it's like, well, what could I do? And I'm thinking, well, I got the idea from, all right, let me explain, right? Because when I was in school, and in particularly college, and I guess you could say, I mean, I wanted to, like, become an engineer, and I'm too stupid for that, right? And I've always been into, like, mechanical stuff, and I was explaining to my daughter, like, this afternoon, like, I was very good in complicated math, but I couldn't add and subtract fractions to save my life. And I used to convert everything to decimals, and I would get in trouble because you had to show your work. So they put me in remedial basic math and advanced college level math through high school. And then in college, I was always good at, like, English for the most part, and I used to write a lot. And I also took a lot of AV courses as well, even in high school, audiovisual. And I like movies. And so it's just kind of bizarre, the overlap that I have, right? So I wanted to do something different. And I've got this weird brain. And I'm thinking, well, I want to do something where I can sort of show off some weird skills on the mechanical side, but I want to make the video short. And most people will speed through something. They'll take it and they'll just speed it up. And the audio might sound like a munchkin talking, and that's fun. I'll do that from time to time. So I'm thinking, well, what the hell else could I do, right? All right. So here's the backstory. All right, let me minimize this. So I was binge watching some, I don't know, it was like cop shows and stuff. You know, they're like drama, mystery, and action films. And then I came across a couple of Steven Seagal films like he made in the late 90s and up to about 2012. He had a whole series of these that he made. And I didn't know it. They're like made for like TV. I didn't know it. I think I maybe saw one once or twice, and I didn't know. So I started watching these. And from just the stuff that I, kind of surf and a little bit I learned in school and whatever about AV and how to shoot film and commercials and stuff. And I'm watching this, and you could tell it was like the mid 2000s ish, because they had better technology. Cameras got cheaper, and you could put more of less of your budget into the technology and more of your budget into actors and location. And so he does a lot of that, and he's very old school because he came up in the 80s and in the 90s for the most part. And they didn't have a lot of technology then. They'd mount the camera on a car to get a shot. And you could see they were like GoPro on cars, and like this is like early. But there's this one scene where he's a sniper, and he has to make a really long, like 2,000 meter shot. And they're talking about, doing a trigger job and all this stuff. So they get a lathe in, and the guy that's with him, like it's underneath him, right? He says he's going to do it. And he whips out the lathe and he starts working on this part. And I've seen this before, this kind of thing. And so the way the footage is, they won't actually show the guy working on the part. One, because the guy's not working on the part. And even if he was, they wouldn't show you doing a trigger job. Yeah, like you're working on a gun, right? They're not going to show that anyway. And the angles that they were doing and the music that they put to it, and I'm like, I can do that. Right? I can do a really lousy job at that. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to become a poser. So when I was in school and in my English classes, one of my professors told me that good writers borrow, great writers steal. I'm like, well, there you go. I'm going to steal that. So that's what I did. So let me show you the rest of it. So one thing led to another. And so I think the most important thing, fellas, is that, all right, so I do, I do a lot of this stuff for a living, right? But I also do a lot of this stuff because it's fun. How is it fun? Because you got to make it fun, right? Even if you got to steal something, right, to make it fun. And so I'm like, well, I'll just see if I can do something. It didn't take me that long either. I'm like, so I need this kind of weird music. It's almost like not really action-y, but tension-y. I don't know, something in that because I'm into music. I've always been into music. So let's go to the other part of it, the last part of it. All right, let me fast forward. Let's see.
A bit of
This is a nice mower too,
dry
by the
lube.
way. This thing's beautiful. Wait,
We're just going to here sort of clean up.
Wait.
And thread these out.
All right, let me see.
And put some lubricant on them
Get out of
and
the
thread
way.
them back in again. If they're
Let me shut
jammed,
me
get
up.
them working again, because this is like a stow and go handle. So you want to be able to demonstrate that for a customer. So let me see if I want to. I'm thinking about whether I want to clean that up. I might. It's just a quick look before I give it its sort of clean up.
Clean up.
Right, its final spit shine. All right, I'll be back. All right, you can see here some very simple techniques, right? See how I'm fading? I'm using very little paint, fellas. Remember all that gack down there? We're going to put some clear on it next. But I like to put the clear on when things are a little tacky and a little wet. That Rust-Oleum paint that I like, the implement paint, that takes a long time to really dry. But I want to get the clear on once it starts to tack. See? And I'm just going to give it a little bit more time. You can use a Krylon, which dries a lot faster, but the pigments are weird. So I tend to reserve those. And it's also not as good. Right? It requires a lot more paint. All right, we'll be back when it's done.
So, having fun with just fooling around, I came up with that too. And I should have ran it a little bit longer, but the idea was to show it now done and then sort of morph into before and then sort of morph back and then time it with the music and then show it just as now. And then, of course, I also created a new sort of intro outro to kind of go with it instead of using something existing, right? So I figured, well, I'll just have some fun with it. And I just want to inspire you guys to kind of do the same thing. If you're, rather than like get frustrated, whether you're a YouTuber and just starting out or doing your thing or whatever, think like outside of the box in the sense of, not too many YouTubers do this, right? The lawnmowers and small equipment. That doesn't make me better or anything. It just is a thing, right? But you can kind of think outside of the box, but of course, in a way, it's just a spin on something that's been done somewhere else, right? In something else. The most important thing is that whatever it is you're doing, right, try to enjoy it, because that's, at the end of the day, right, you're either frustrated and tired or you're happy and tired, and I'd rather be kind of happy and tired and have a good time, kind of fooling around. So let me go figure out, I want to show you guys something on a different subject. I need my glasses on for this. But I thought that was fun. I really enjoyed it. And that was a fun machine to work on. That came out really, really nice. And it got bought like right away. Oh, by the way, I did an episode on like the world's worst line trimmer on the planet. And that was that Craftsman with the no choke blade. Weed whacker. And guy bought it today. I put it up for sale a little while back, and some people have hit on it. But in the ad, I wrote what was wrong with it, and that you need like a touch of gum out or some starting fluid. And I only asked $40 for it, right? Because I made a video out of it, and like it's, I feel bad about charging any more than that, even though it was in really good shape. It had really good compression, and it was, physically in good shape. And two guys hit me up past couple of days, and the one guy I settled on today, he had, because it's the one where you can put different attachments on, and he had a bunch of different attachments. And he had one with a power head. He said, I burned it out. He says, I used the heck out of it doing some jobs and whatever, and burned it out. And I needed one. And he's like, my wife wanted an electric one. He's like, that's fine. She can go get an electric one. He's like, I'm like, why would I do that? This guy's got one for $40. I know what it is. I know what's wrong with it. I know what he's talking about. And he came over and I showed him and he bought it. And that's what I was looking for, was somebody to buy it that understood what was wrong with it. Could you put another carburetor on it with a choke blade? Yeah, but you need the air filter assembly and it needs to connect to the cable properly. And I'm not doing that. Like, you know, what could I if I think if one day where I have a whole bunch of them out, like I did to shoot some of that footage, and I think there's going to be one more in that series coming out, and I stumble across a carburetor that has a choke blade on it and everything, and it's like, oh, look, this bolts right on. Then I'll figure out what it is, and then I might do a video on recommending how to properly fix one of those things. I'm not going to put a choke blade on, right? I'm not going to drill it out and try to shape a choke blade and do all that. Yes, I could do it, but I got busy and I got stuff to do, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to sell it for a few bucks, set somebody up with something, let them save a few dollars, and this way we can all move forward. But I just wanted to mention that. All right, so where am I? All right, so let's see. Oh, yeah, let's get to this. Yeah, let's totally get to this. Let's see here. All right, so I got some stuff here. I just need to, let's see. There we go. Let's see if it opens up. Yeah, there it goes. Oh, yes. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. All right, fellas. Just out of the weird and the kind of weird stuff that goes on in the world today, right? Oh, look. Satanic Temple unveils Baphomet statue at Arkansas Capitol. Oh, isn't that nice, right? Look at what they're up to. At the Capitol building, yeah. Just like in Manhattan where I'll get a picture of that, all right? There's Little Rock. Satanic Temple unveils its statue Thursday of a goat-headed winged creature called Baphomet during a First Amendment rally at the Arkansas State Capitol to protest a Ten Commandments monument already on the Capitol grounds. Yes, because you need to protest a Ten Commandments. Because Ten Commandments are crap. Everybody knows that. It's horrible. Thou shalt not kill, all this other stuff. Who needs that? Let's see. With Satanists and atheists and Christians among those in attendance, several speakers called for the removal of the Ten Commandments monument or for state government officials to install Baphomet as well, because you need the dark and the light. The Satanic Temple said the Ten Commandments monument violates constitutional freedom of religious rights, and that installation of their statue will demonstrate religious tolerance. Oh, for heaven's sakes, right? Can you imagine? So suddenly now the Ten Commandments is bad. It violates your right. Look, it is a country where you have the right to do your thing with religion, whatever. But I often say this to my family and my friends. It's not that they want their own rights. It's that they want yours. It's not that they want their own thing. They want your thing too. Okay? They want yours, and they don't want you to have it. Let's go take a look at another one, right? While we're here, right? I just thought that was kind of neat, right? Let's see. Let's let this one open up. Oh, this weekend. SatanCon is coming to Boston, and it's dedicated to Mayor Wu. Well, dedicated to him, huh? Here's what we know. The Satanic Temple has dedicated its second annual convention to Mayor Michelle Wu as the church continues its lawsuit against the city of Boston. Wow. This is a 2014 photo provided by the Satanic Temple. Shows a bronze Baphomet, which depicts Satan as a goat-headed figure surrounded by two children. Because that's what you want, right? Geez, doesn't that just sound a little familiar, right? the whole trans thing, right, with the children and everything else. You know, people don't make the connections, right? But this is just their way, right? You know, I have to be careful what I say here because I'm not allowed, right? But it's just their way, right? And we should allow them, you know, what do they call them today? Hold on, let me see if I can get this right. Minor attracted persons. You know, I won't get any deeper into that. Is there anything else? No, I think I just wanted to kind of touch on that. You know, really, I need to be on a different platform to really talk about stuff like this. But I just thought that was kind of neat. So when you're looking around at the world, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, well, there you go, right? Who's in charge? Let me go see. Let me find the statue that sits atop the New York courthouse, right? I know I've showed this before, but I might as well close this out. Atop the Manhattan. Let's see. Yeah, is this it? Oh, gee, oh, here it is. Let's see. There we go. Isn't she beautiful? Look at her. Yeah, look at those arms, huh? Well, that's like actually a statue of Ra, right? And this is in my courthouse here in Manhattan. This shows you whatever is atop the courthouse is basically dictating what goes on within it and below it. And she's standing on a lotus leaf, which is also another old emblem symbol, goes way back. You know, the saying is, what's old is new again. It's the same fight that's been going on forever. And I just thought that was kind of neat. And, you know, I might make a video on something like that one day, but probably not going to be on this platform because, you know, see you later, Usha. So I just thought that was pretty cool. There's like a crazy world out there, and, you know, somebody's got to talk about it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So what was the next thing I wanted to show you guys? There was something over here. And, oh, yes. Yeah, I get it now. Let's see. I have to find it, though, because I'm not ready. And there was some other stuff, too, about... Yeah, let's see. How did I put that? Yeah, I had saved a whole bunch of stuff. Let me look on my desktop and see if it's here. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to find what I really wanted to do for tonight because I've been busy. And like everything is, you know, crazy for the new season. Everybody wants their machine because of the water in the fuel. And I just keep finding water in the fuel. And I try to train my customers as best as I can, but I think that they just forget or they don't understand what I'm saying. Let's see. Sometimes I put it in a different folder. See if it's in this folder here. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to bring up a couple of them. So, talking about customers, all right, I'm just going to open up a bunch of these. So, Yard Machines, 21-inch push mulching mower. So, this guy asked me, he says, he's talking about his own mower, right? I'm trying to sell a piece of crap, $70 mower. And I got this guy asking me about, my mower recently broke down. Okay, he's talking about his mower that recently broke down. If I was to try and get a bag that would fit this one, do you know what I'd need? Okay, so grammatically speaking, he starts off saying his mower recently broke down. So that typically is the subject of the sentence. The next word after that period, or next part of the sentence, the new sentence, should relate to the previous one, grammatically speaking. But it doesn't. But the way it's written is, if I was to try and get a bag that would fit this one, which one? The one that you just broke? Or the one that's in the ad, right? Well, I wrote back to it, and I was like, I gave him a message on like, well, you can just go look up the bag. He's like, no, I'm talking about my mower. Like, well, first of all, did you buy anything for me? I've had a number of people ask me recently. This guy sent me something the other day, and he wanted to know. He's looking at a bunch of snowblowers that somebody else is selling, 2017, whatever, and he's asking me, what I think is the best one or whatever, and he's never bought anything from me, right? He goes, I know you know about stuff like that. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I do know about stuff like that. And I said, well, that's not compensation for this forum. I'm not going to start researching for you and how to get a bag for your machine. Did you buy anything? You know what? I'll tell you what. And I've had people say to me, I'll sell something for $40. They'll offer me like 10 or 20. Hold on. Okay. Why don't I just give it to you? Okay. I should just work for you. Let me shut everything down. Tell the mortgage company they don't need to get paid. Everyone go fuck themselves, right? Let me just stop what I'm doing for you. Okay. Because you're so fucking I don't even know who you are. So here's another one. So I try to be nice. Now, I put in my ads. In the ad, right, I'll write, it says, look, same machine, yard machines, 21-inch push mulching. It goes on to say mulching mower. He says, is this a mulching mower? I don't know. Might be. I mean, it says it in the title. And I wrote, well, that's what the title says. Of course, he didn't buy it, right? A lot of these people, a lot of them, what they do is they'll go, is it available? Is it available? Is it available? Right? And one of the things I'll write is I have like an auto response, and I'll just be like, yes, and it's first come, first served by appointment only. Yes, it's first come, first served by appointment only. And I can't tell you, I'll get a whole bunch of those, and I just go through, delete, 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 and I'll get them at like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Do these people not understand that, like, your phone is, for most of us, who the hell are you to call or text somebody and bother their phone at 11 or 12 o'clock at night over effing lawnmower? Is it available? Well, not at 11, 12 o'clock at night, it fucking isn't. I've actually said that a few times, right? They don't buy anything. So this is how I weed out potential people that, like, no, it's not a mulching mower. Does it have a bag? Did you read the ad? In the ad, it'll say it doesn't come with a bag, as is, right? Because these are like the budget, super budget cheapies, for people that they either don't have any money or sometimes a senior, right? I don't have to get into senior discounts, which I give like a 10% or so senior discounts, sometimes more. I just did that recently a couple of times. Could be a tenant that is going to be cutting the lawn and they struck a deal and they want something cheap. Could be the landlord, wants to have a lawnmower on premises for the tenant. And they don't want anything special. Here's another one. I just thought, this is just people. And I don't want to make fun of this guy too much because, I guess English is not his first language. Okay. What do you for sale the machine? Let me read that again. What, question mark, no space, no capital, do you for sale the machine? Now there's a space and a question mark. Now, I had a guy, all right, now I live in a very mixed area, right? Unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish. Like, I know a couple of words and that's it. I really should learn. It's a cool language, but it's not an easy one to speak. But you can manage a few. Now, I sold a really nice lawnmower to a guy who had like a contracting business. He was Latino, and he spoke some English, right? He wanted to try to sell me at a discount for my machine. It was a nice, beautiful Honda machine. I think it was actually the Honda Harmony. And he didn't argue price or anything like that, but he wanted to see if he could, I guess, he asked about fixing. He had a Honda. It wasn't a Harmony. It was like a steel-bodied Honda. And I'm not sure if he wanted me to fix it or to give him a price or to trade it. And so I erred on the side of caution, right? So when somebody doesn't speak your language well and you can't speak their language well, I don't get into, I just want to do a straight sale. I said no to the machine. I said no to everything else. I said, it's just this price for this machine. And I didn't want to get into it with him because I couldn't understand him. And the worst thing that can happen is when you're trying to negotiate a deal with somebody that even when people speak like the same language, half the time you still can't understand each other because somebody's thinking one thing and the other person's thinking the other. Now you have a language barrier issue. That is just no go for me. I will not involve myself in anything other than like a straight up sale, right? Because I don't really know for sure that individual knows what the hell I'm talking about. Like, am I going to knock $20 off? Am I going to do towards a repair? You really don't know if they're understanding you. But cash talks, right? Here's the machine. You put the money in my hand. I put the machine on your truck, right? So that kind of stuff I'm very careful with because I don't want to screw the person. I don't want to get screwed. I keep it simple and I let it go. And it needed cables. It was one of those with the flapper controls on the handle. And I was like, well, that doesn't work. And I said to him, they could be difficult to fix and service. The tires were getting bald. It had a bag and a Honda engine on it. You know, if I could have made a deal and negotiated it, like I said, it would only be with somebody that I felt that I was getting through to and that we were on the same page. Because you don't want problems, right? You don't want to create a problem. You don't want to accidentally step into one. So on stuff like that, and it's not to make fun of anybody. That's just, you're going to run into that from time to time. And so I just stay away. Now, this person, this is interesting. And this is how you know when somebody is really not a customer, right? And a lot of people are not. He says, so it's the same damn machine, right? Same damn thing. And, you know, I don't like to sell a lot of these cheapies because it's a problem. It's like, I don't get it. It's a $70 decent machine. And the people that ask me all these questions, they're not even on the expensive stuff. It's on this stupid, more aggravation than it's worth machines. You don't deliver, ? Well, that's a negative with a positive and a question. I don't know. Grammatically, that doesn't make any sense. I would pay extra. If so, I'm in Ronkonkoma. All right, that's a town not too far from me. No, I don't deliver, right? And I said to him, that would cost as much as the machine. These are small, light fit in most vehicles. All right, so let me bring me back. So what happened with this guy, his machine broke. And some of you guys may know, right? You might kind of run through this. All right, let me bring my, I want to check my monitor and see. I don't move stuff around, fellas. You got to give me a minute. Let's see. Right. Let's see. TJ's laughing. Ray-Ban says, dealing with the public, exercise intolerance, patience, and civility helps if you can lower your IQ on demand to prevent high blood pressure. Yeah, brother, that's it. Yep. Absolutely. Oh, I gotta put my blanket on because it's getting a little cold in here. I think you guys might have heard the heat kick on before, so I won't freeze to death now. All right, this is my daughter gave me this blanket. Like this, I got a little heater over here. It's like my cubby. It's like my little cubby hole. It'd be nice if I get the door behind me to shut properly. I should take the door off and fix it in summer. Arch, what are you doing? Wrench. Wrench, how's your night going, Arch? Need to grease the chair. Yeah, I know. Yes, I do, brother. I do. I keep thinking about it because like you could hear it and all kinds of things. Especially when I was like, Oosh will tell you, well, he's gone. But when I'd be gaming, you'd hear, they're like, Arch, what are you doing over there? Are you getting something? You know, what's going on over there, Arch? Yeah. So, this is the time of year where the water and the fuel and things don't start. So the guy, he starts now asking me if I could, so he's got a cheap lawnmower. He's looking at my cheap lawnmower. It's a bunch of towns away. And he wants to pay for a delivery, right? Well, that was like double. I can get Juan to do it, right? I usually have Juan do it. I don't do deliveries generally. I don't have time to step away. Like to do a delivery, even for $50 or $60, it's going to take me over an hour. I'm going to burn gas. I'm putting my vehicle at risk. I'm putting wear and tear. I just don't do it. Juan does it whenever I have to do it, and most people here on Long Island won't even pay for it. They won't even pay for it. So on occasion, I get Juan to do it, but I schedule it with him because I'm not going to make him stop what he's doing, you know. TJ says, any find you? Yeah, yes, he found me on well, it's Marketplace. That's what it really is. So, no, it's a lightweight thing. I'll put it in your car. It fits in almost anything. Now, broke his lawnmower. He started asking, I need somebody to come over and fix it. Right, he's got a lawnmower basically like the one I'm selling for $70. I'm like, there are people that do this. Usually, if it's for tractors. For the most part, any mechanic, in terms of lawn equipment, if you're not working for a contractor like a lawn guy, right, you can't work for like Joe and Jane customer because there's no money in it, right? You're going to fix somebody's lawn. What could you charge? What could you possibly charge to make it worth your time with the have your tools in a van to go and do a service? $50, right? I've seen some of those guys that try to do that, and they were advertising on Facebook. They're gone. You don't survive. You lose your shirt doing that. I can barely make any money just doing it here with everything here. Really, there's no margins for any of this. So I said, no, that would cost too much money too. I'm like, I don't do that. Right? You can drop it off here, and I'll schedule you, and we'll fix it. And he starts asking questions. First they tell you, this is my favorite. He told me this, but many others will say this, right? It just needs a carburetor cleaning. I'm not paying for anything else. Okay, so then just do that. Well, what do you get for a tune-up? Well, it's around the corner, right? Like I sell a lot of my machines for what a tune-up costs around the corner. They get $90, and all they're going to do is change the oil. They're going to change the air filter. They're going to change the plug. Okay? If it needs anything else, it's a repair. End of story. They're not going to clean anything. They're not going to clean anything. They might blow a little dirt off from where they might need to do something. But if you have water in your fuel, it just needs the carburetor cleaned. That's a repair, which means it also needs a tune-up. And it needs to be clean. And it needs to be completely gone over because I've never met a lawnmower yet. And I do hundreds every year. Once it gets to the point where there's water and dirt in the tank has to come off, has to be cleaned out. Otherwise, if you don't get all that stuff out, it's going to go right back into the carburetor. The carburetor has to come off and be cleaned out. And you can't just drop the bowl on everything. Like those new plastic carburetors, you can't drop the bowl from underneath the engine. You have to take it off. Which means you're taking the tank off, which means you're cleaning the both of them, which means you're probably doing a tune-up because it needs it. So I won't do anything. They're like, well, I'll do it. Okay, so he starts doing it. And then he's asking me questions, and I'm sort of laughing because he's getting heated. Finally, at the end of the day, he actually does write back, and I don't think I saved that part, but this, I've had enough of this. Like, good, good. Well, you told me it was just a carburetor, so you were doing it, and, okay. These damn things, you should have dropped it off, right? And stop complaining about the money and have the thing back to you and fixed properly and no aggravation and said you insisted it only needed this one thing and, okay, you're the mechanic, What are you bothering me for? Why don't you buy my lawnmower? It already works. You don't have to do anything to it. Just add gas. For less than the cost of a tune-up. No, it doesn't have a bag. It doesn't have anything else. What do you want? People try to talk me down on it. That I said in that ad that price was firm. Nobody bought it. They don't know what they're looking at, and they don't know what they're getting involved in. And so you don't want them as a customer. The customer that doesn't know that doesn't understand, but isn't going to tell you what's wrong with it, right? That's probably a customer. They just don't understand. Lots of people don't know, right? That's what you're here for. That's what I'm here for. I got a lot of customers like that. They just don't know. And like a customer dropped off a machine. It was like a Lawn Boy cheesy, like the MTD with the crappy deck. And, but things are different on it, just different enough to be where you can't just take something off of another lawnmower because the cable's just a little bit shorter, and the cable was broken. And he's like, I'm like, what do you want to do? I'm like, you just want a cable? He's like, yeah, I just want a cable. I'm like, well, that's probably not. I said, look at the thing. It's a wreck, right? It's an absolute wreck. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, look at it. He left it on the ground. It was spalling and scaling underneath, right? Metal. I wound up pressure washing it with the electric pressure washer, and it knocked 3 holes in the deck. There was water in the fuel, right? The carburetor was filthy. The whole thing was filthy. And when I gave it back, and he's like, better than new? I'm like, no. I'm like, this thing, you're done, right? This is the last time you're going to be doing. I showed him. He's like, really? I'm like, I've told you this before. I'm like, you can't leave them like that. And these are thin decks, and they get ruined, and they live in the junk and the muck anyway. And so I didn't charge a lot for it, and he's happy. I'm like, you could probably stabilize the deck. You can put used oil or this, a bunch of things. And I gave him a list of things he could put underneath there. And I'm like, you'll get about 5 years out of it. If something else breaks, if you run over something, if you drive it back into the ground again, throw it out, right? Just call me for another lawnmower or go buy. Because these lawnmowers used to be $1 and change, right? $1.50, $1.75, somewhere just like south of $200. They're like $300 now for this junk. So DJ says, I can't find you on Facebook Marketplace. Well, you're probably because I don't have anything up right now for sale. Yeah, that's probably why. I got to put more of my ads onto Archer's Garage because a lot of times I just put them under me, but I'm going to start changing that. I'm going to change my behavior. So most of my customers are really good people. I'd say probably like something like 99% salt of the earth. But I screen out. I make it a little difficult for them to negotiate with me at first. My really nice machines sell themselves. They're gone within hours, maybe a couple of days. Especially now, they sell themselves. Nobody does what I do, and that's deliberate. Okay, there are a couple of people that do what I do. Some people I know. One of the guys is a YouTuber. He lives on the island. He does really nice machines, and he asks a lot. He's got one like your standard MTD right now, push, all cleaned up, $250. Right? That's crazy. I think it's actually a little bit more. They're $320 new. He always thinks he's got gold, right? He lives in a little nicer area than I do. But he'll even say people in that area will spend more money, but they're also a pain in the neck. They will call you back. They've tried to bring lawnmowers back after they cut their lawn. And they're like done now. Okay, and they want to return the lawnmower. So no matter what you do or where you go, like my customers generally are not like that. But like I said, I try to weed out potential people that are a pain in the neck. And you can only go so far with that. But, usually when I meet them, for the most part, there's one customer I sold this machine. He loved it. And it was really not a very good machine. It had a Kohler engine, and it was leaking like a sieve. Oil. And I kept telling him, like, he just wouldn't spend any money. Like, there's a point at which where it's like good money over bad, right? You'll save $1, but spend $100, And I kept telling him, like, he's like, well, I'll just keep putting oil in it. I'm like, yeah, but number one, you're making a mess. It's going all over the machine. Everything's getting stuck to it. And number two, if you forget to put oil in it and you don't realize and you don't check it, you're going to burn the motor out, which is ultimately what happened. It was 1 year he came here. It didn't want to run because there was water in the fuel. I offered him to put another motor on it, which I had laying around for cheap, just to service the customer and keep the relationship. He wouldn't do it. I still had to clean the thing up. I'm like, it's not really worth it. It's leaking a lot of oil. And when you dropped it off here, it had like no oil in it. Like I said, was going to happen. Well, I got it running. He kept asking me, like, what can I put in it to get it out? And finally he brought it over. And a couple of weeks later, I guess towards the end of the season, it gotten hot and he killed the engine. And at that point, I'm like, I was kind of done with the customer. I'm like, I told him that would happen. He won't spend any money, and now he has no lawnmower. And instead of coming back and saying, all right, what do you have? I'm going to buy something decent. I really don't know what happened. I just kind of I backed away from him because he wasn't making sense. And I'm like, I can't really afford to work for somebody that's not going to make sense because they're going to get me into a situation that doesn't make sense. I don't want to be in a situation like that. That's not a customer. Right? That's somebody that's not making sense, that's trying to rail me into something that I don't want to do. So I'm like, see you later. Right? And it's not, I don't want to be, I'm not a dick about it or anything. I won't call back or whatever. It's like, I know what, I don't have time for this. There's plenty of people out there that are willing to work with you. And they're not going to try to, a lot of the guys that do what we do in some other field or whatever, they show up. They don't even argue price. They know what I did. They know I made a valiant effort, right, to resurrect the machine so that somebody could have something good. Because the basis for me, what I try to do is give somebody something that isn't perfect because it's not brand new. It's a used machine. So it's not perfect right off the bat. I can only bring it up to a certain level because people will not pay me beyond a certain point to completely mint out and trick out a machine, which is what I know this other guy does. I do a really good job. It's used. I used a certain number of used parts because I collect them. And the machine is ready to run. You don't have to do anything. It should last for a long time, but it is possible that, I don't know, maybe a coil will burn out or maybe it's on its way out. Maybe a pull cord will break. Could be, right? I don't replace all that. I don't try to, let's just replace everything. No, nobody will pay me for that. A cable might break. Okay, that can happen. The ends look like they're okay, but it was sitting out. It felt, I lubed it. It felt like it was okay, but there's some rust somewhere in the middle of the cable. And finally, he pulled it and it broke, right? And I don't cover that. There's no warranty for that. I make it clear. It's like is as is. I used to sell warranties, but I've had people try to take advantage of that. I'm not Home Depot. I'm not Lowe's. So I backed away from all of that. And the idea is that it's good enough to where if something simple like that broke, short of the person running over a tree stump, a brick, whatever, and borking everything to holy hell, and destroying it, it's worth a tune-up a couple of years later. It's worth maybe the cable replacement, which sometimes I throw in with a tune-up or whatever, if it's a revisiting customer. So I'm very fair with that stuff, and I keep the prices low overall, especially if it's an existing customer. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And these machines are worth at least one more tune-up and one more repair. But by and large, they're going to try to drive it back into the ground again. So, all right, what else did I want to talk about? So I just thought that was funny, how people are. And because usually I talk about, decent customers or whatever. And I don't like to complain about non-customers or bad customers. I've had a few, bad mojo people. That's kind of rare. Most people really just they need a lawnmower, And you're not looking to get into like their life story. Although, by the way, I got to tell you, fellas, there are a lot of people that I talk to and have become very friendly with, and they tell me a lot about what's going on and the sad state of what's going on in the world and how it's hurt them and their families and people they know that have died from this thing and have gotten all messed up. And it's very sad when I hear that. That is very sad. What's the other thing I wanted to show you guys? Let me see. This one, I'm just kind of looking at a couple of things.
So what I mentioned before
you're a good customer.
Is that I like
my
to
friend
use the spring
TJ.
I hit for a little while, make sure no water. Let's go take a look at what I was grinding.
I was grinding up. Is this it?
By the way, this is next. Yeah, I'll give it.
Hold on. Yeah, here.
Well, I got a couple of things started. You know, I grind
so
everything
I wanted
up.
to show you guys. Yeah, here it is. So I wanted to show you because I'm getting ready to do my garden, and I talk about it. So I made that lawnmower a while back, and it is the Lawn Boy, right? Not the one I just did, but the one I did for myself like last year or whatever. This guy. All right.
So I mentioned before is that I like to use this machine for grinding. I just got done, rinsed it off. I've been using it in the yard here, and then I'll show you what I just did in the garden area. And I just rinsed it off, right? Since last year, I used it a whole bunch of times, put it away, dug it out, used it in the early spring and late winter, and I ground up some more leaves and chopping everything up. But this is why, right? And I just rinsed this out, no detergent or anything, and it just stays so clean. But you got this big, heavy blade. It's getting a little nicked because I hit things occasionally, but there's so much meat. And then you got this propeller wing, which just kind of drives everything around and grinds everything up. And like I said, no pressure washer. I just rinsed it. So I'm going to go shove it in the sun. I just ran it, closed the petcock on the gas tank, and I'm going to leave it in the sun. I'm going to finish up doing what I'm doing, and then I'll put it away in a little bit. It'll be all dry, and just letting it run for a little while, make sure no water is anywhere that's going to cause a problem. It'll start up again. It was a little rough starting it after a good solid rinse and tossing it around. Let's go take a look at what I was grinding.
Now, I say grinding. You'll see, right? I just rinsed it off. I didn't soap it. You'll see what I do with it in a minute. I'm not gonna show you me doing it because I don't know why I didn't show you, but you'll see where I am. So talking about like hitting stumps and stuff. By the way, I had a brand new lawn boy that my father bought me when I was really young and first started doing all this stuff and everything. And I ran over a pipe in the ground. It was like an oil-filled pipe in a lot of tall grass that was abandoned, and it ruined the engine. I didn't know how to fix it. It was a beautiful lawn boy. But this one's the aluminum deck. It's a very heavy aluminum deck, unlike the new MTD worst machine on the planet crap. It's got a beefy ass blade. That blade is totally beefy. So let me see the blade again. Hey, Brett. It's going pretty good. Yeah, you missed some hot topics. Yeah, I'm going to be on like another 20 minutes or so. Let me show you. Just to go back to that one footage. This blade, this is why I do it. Where am I? This is why I do it, right? Because that blade is awesome. Went to Walmart. I went to Walmart, Home Depot. No Super Clean at all. Did you look it up to see if they're sold there? Because you got to look to see where it's being sold in your area. Because it's not at every store. So anyway, this blade and that extra propeller thing, look at the size of this blade. I mean, it's huge. Let's go to the next little segment.
By the way, this is next, right? Got to get this thing working. Yep, I have to dig that out and give it some attention. It is just jammed. Well, I got a couple of things started. Just a few things. Some tomatoes, rulers, snow peas.
They're all grown up already.
What else is in here? Peppers,
that was
parsley,
when I first planted it.
Cucumber, lettuce, zucchini, basil, and more tomatoes. Plus whatever tends to grow in here. So it's just a little area I cordoned off. My neighbor calls this soil black gold, right? Because when you turn it over, look at how tight. Like, because this grows a lot of just different weeds and whatever. A lot of it is, I don't really know what this plant is, but you get all kinds of just junk in here. But I grind everything up, basically toss everything in here over the winter. You know, food and all manner of things. And It just grinds everything down, flattens it down, and then right before I go to rototill, I'll hit it one more time. But this is getting really tall, and it doesn't struggle at all. Even though that motor's getting tired and a little smoky, it doesn't care, right? And like you see, it just grinds it up. It's unbelievable. Like even over here where ladies, you know, they dump plants and stuff, root balls, house plants, whatever, and I just toss it down and run over it. All right, I got some stuff to do. I got to finish up.
Yeah. Just grind the hell out of everything. That's what I do with that. Mostly that's what I do. Let's see. Yeah, that's not a knife, Brett says. This is a knife. This is a lawnmower. Now, I like the offset wheel. I do use it to cut the lawn on occasion, but now I have to sharpen the blade. I'm going to use it one more time to grind that area before I rototill. I got to clean that rototiller up. I'm going to sell that rototill. I'm going to try to make one out of that piece of crap that I showed you a couple of weeks back. And then I also have the mantis, right? The praying mantis, the little mantis garden weasel. That does a pretty good job, you know. But the bigger, I had a really nice Craftsman I sold because I needed the money. It had 2 forward gears and reverse. I'm sorry I sold that thing. It's on the channel somewhere. It's like an old video. But you know, it's like the business you're in. You sell the stuff because that's what you sell. You know. I'll get another one. I'm going to make another cheap one. And then kind of go from there. There's a couple more things I want to show you yet. Let me start up my other application. Red says, those little buggers do awesome for only a 21cc engine. Yeah. Yeah, just, you got to be careful. You don't want to wrap anything or get anything wrapped around it or anything. Sort of like that rototill that I have to fix and sell. You don't want that to happen. Let's see. Here's a nice one, by the way. I'll show you this one. I'll show you a couple of pics. I guess it's either made by MTD or AYP. It says Arians on it. Arians. I like these, though. I resurrected this one. This was one of the ones that was out in Death Row. Nice machine. That's what I want to show you guys. Let me start backwards. Now this is one that this is the body to the motor I'm working on that I showed you earlier.
All right, it's the next day. So yesterday I did the full degrease, right? Got all the junk and the grease off from around where the engine was. Then I brought it up on the table, and I've showed this before, right? Where I wire wheel and I use my Scotch-Brite cookie and what have you. And then I give it a rinse and with some more super clean because it's greasy and it's filthy. I get all of that off. And you could see what's left, right? There's really not a lot of paint failure here. It's in pretty good shape. So now I'm going to hit it with some black high build primer. I'm going to cover this over. I had to get rid of this sticker over here, the manufacturer sticker, because it was a mess and there was rust underneath it. And I'll tape a couple of little things, nothing really, just this one, really. And I'll use like a piece of paper as a blind. I'll hit it with the primer. I'll let that primer set up. Check to see if I want any more on there. And then I'll paint it. I'm going to do a light coat at that point. And then I'll put a little clear on it.
Yeah, hold on.
Before, as it's tacking up. And I'm going to put it to the side.
Go to the next segment. Now, I'm going to let this segment run for a minute. I got to go take a leak. Hold on. Sorry, gotta go. Diabetes.
All right, primer only where I need to put it, and then I do try to lay it on thick, especially on a top surface, right? Horizontal surface. And you can really see it covers over a lot of sins. We're not trying to get perfect here, but we're going to let the product do our job. And over here, I think it could use a little... Thing is that when I open and close this, it hits that. So what we'll do is knowing that, I'll come around here, I'll spray black in here first, which that's still kind of drying. That primer is a little bit... But we'll spray black in there first, close the lid, don't ever touch it again, come back, spray black in here, and light coats. And then I'll let it sit. And then, like, later on, I'll roll it off the table when I'm done and I'm getting ready to do the next thing. And just push it off, push it off to the side. Probably finish this up in 2-3 days. And by then, the paint will be hard enough for me to touch and to work with. And, you know, I'm not going to smudge it or damage it. You see? Very light, right? There's blemishes. There's nothing, I'm not going to worry about that. Because for what I'm selling it for, right? It's been derusted and stabilized. And that's the selling point. You know, a light coat of clear, kind of misting it on. I'm not looking for gloss. I'm looking for almost like an industrial type of finish. Right? That's all. Just to cover over, stabilize, make it nice. Very light on the plastics. Normally I would do the whole thing, right, at once. I find that it's a good idea to put clear on sooner than later, once it's tacked up, because I've had some issues before. The clear, it's an automotive clear, Rust-Oleum, and it's going to get hard over time. It'll be gas resistant. All of this will be gas, fuel, oil resistant, but that takes like weeks. So it's good in a way. I like it when these things sit around for a bit.
Oh. Fritzes, how you guys doing? Wash your hands, Arch. Oh, jeez. I can't. I'm not doing that now. All right. I'll just deal with it. Where was I? I had to go. Like, today I've been peeing like a racehorse. I don't know. Sometimes that happens. Let's see. I'm going to show you the next one. This is what it looked like. Is this? Yeah, this is what it looked like. It's going to come out nice. This is the one where I'm doing the motor. I split the bottom on the motor and I replaced the seal. I didn't actually replace the seal. I keep some of the bottom plates around because, you know, Briggs, here on Long Island, the bolts rot. Well, the whole thing rots, but what'll happen is the bolts are very soft, and if it rots a lot, like on a deck that's no good and I want to grab the motor, you go to take the bolt out, the bolt breaks. Well, it takes just one. And it's easy to save a couple of, like, you know, the bottom mounting section of the block. It's easier to keep a few of those from some motors and just replace that. So in this case, in this machine, which I'll show you, I'm like in Suffolk on Long Island. So let me show you this. So it was leaking real bad, and I could see it, you know, from underneath. Other than that, it was in good shape. It's not terrible. Let's see, that's a shot of it. So I pulled it out.
This motor is in really, really good shape, but you can see all the gook. This is after I pressure washed. And see, the other thing too is this slid right off, so it's full of oil. And I was able to take the motor off with my lightweight impact. What we could do is we could clean this all off. I dumped the oil, clean it all off, and I could go get another one of these base plates. I have a whole bunch of them. I just got to go find them. But I have a bunch. And they came off of good motors. We just need the bigger shaft. This has the bigger shaft. So I might, you know what? I might bring it outside. We'll pop the starter motor off because we're not going to use that. I'll plug up the holes. We'll bring it outside, and I'll throw some super clean on it, and I'll rig up the pressure washer, I guess, the little electric one, because that'll get it a lot cleaner, and then we can take it apart.
Yeah. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, Brett. Yeah, I don't have to take anything like that. They gave me a bunch of meds for diabetes, but it was to lower cholesterol and do everything else. And they say it protects your kidneys and all this. You know, the problem with a lot of those medications is they call them side effects. But you know what side effects are? They're new diseases. That's what that is. And so it just happened to be today that I'm peeing like a racehorse. I don't generally do that. You know, I mean, I urinate like most people do, but you know, today my blood sugars were not particularly high or anything. Actually, I've been trying to keep them down a little bit more. I don't know, for some reason. Right now I'm drinking a combination of water with some lime in it and coffee. And I haven't really had much coffee. I've been very thirsty today and the past couple of days. So, whatever it is, I'm trying to get rid of it, I guess. But, yeah, you just have to be careful with taking some of these medications because they're very good for acute conditions. Like the medications that we have in the apothecary today, they're really good for, like, you know, serious acute situations. But if you have a chronic illness like I do, like a lot of people do, then you have to figure out another way around it because those medications will lead to other additional problems. Guaranteed. Look up what they cause. It'll freak you out. I wanted to show you this. So just getting back to that. Where is it? Mowers, active machines and process. Mowers, no. Yeah, that's just it. Come back to here. So that was part, for those of you that don't know, that was part of what I was saying earlier with splitting the case, and that's like this video. Right, that's the engine. And so I was trying to figure out how to show this.
All right, it's actually been about an hour because
I
I'm
found
busy,
a better
and
way.
That's exactly the point of these kinds of projects. So we're all ready to assemble. There's nothing to fancy to do here. It's still probably it's skinned and it's a little tacky, and an hour is good. So let's just drop it down.
Now, what I found a problem
it should go
here
right
with
down.
doing
We just
this,
got to
I
make sure
haven't
we
done one
line
in a
everything.
while. Hold
and
on.
that it gets
stuck, right? And what I found,
all right with the bail pulled back,
is this.
and I want to show you.
Shut up.
There's a hole there. Set the governor up like this. This is how I took it out. So here's the hole. All right. And you know what? Yeah, let me pull in a little. Here's the hole in the governor, and it should be sitting more on the tip. And you got to push it as far out of the way as you can. It's got like this, so I'm using gravity, all right, to kind of keep it lifted up. Notice the position I'm in. And then, oh, I see a little, I don't want any oil on this. I don't want too much. Like, if it's okay if there's a little bit, but screw it up. All right, let's see. That's it. All right, it's almost there.
I got you, Brad. Hold on. So what I found was you have to turn it in this position. Because if you don't, the governor will not lay in your favor. It will lay and fight you and get caught. There's not much room. It fits into like this little pocket. And I haven't done this in a long time. So I'm like, okay, I figured it out. And then it'll go straight down. This is the one way I was trying to figure out how I could do, you know, a multi-view, and I'll just do it again for those that just kind of came in. I came up with a little different way of doing it. I don't like this because it was, I couldn't align the cameras the way I really wanted them, so they'll get out of focus. I try to set my cameras up so that one of the options I choose is that I set the focus to center, right? And I try to align the camera to the center of what I want it to focus on. Anything to the side of it could easily get out of focus. So if I move around, especially on a bench and you're moving stuff around, you know, on a fixed machine with a fixed camera angle, it's a little different. Sometimes you might even see I put tape down on the top of the counter or whatever just to give me a target. What I found was I was having to move things around to fit them into the screen field, right, of the split screen. So I gave up on this and I went to this one here. But like I was saying though, is that you want to make sure that assembly is going to lean in a way where it sort of flattens out like it would be normally installed, and it has to be just exactly in the right position. Otherwise you'll never get the lid on or the bottom. And so finally I figured it out. But I made a little burr on the pins, the locating pins. I made a little burr to clean that off. But I got it, right? As I haven't done one in a while. So that back plate is one I took off of another motor. It already has the seal in it. And well, you got to take the back plate off anyway. And since I have all these extra pieces, instead of ordering another seal and showing you how to put that one in and do all of that, I just did it this way. I have the Tecumseh engine, 10 horsepower on that little green rider that I just ordered the seal. I just got the gasket. I was also showing on this earlier part, which I don't show here, is how to make a gasket with RTV. You got to leave it overnight, and I gave some tips and tricks or whatever if you don't have a gasket. On the Tecumseh rider, we're going to replace the seal, and we're going to replace the gasket as well, and put them new, and then put everything back, because I want to sell that machine, and I want it running good. I feel bad about selling it, but like I have so many other riders and tractors and snappers, and I'm like, this one's beautiful. I could sell it, get like $300-400 for it, and be gone with it. Let me show you this like little segment. Hold on, I'm starting too quick. So this is like the camera setup that I like, and this way there's really no border, right? But you can tell, and I can get the cameras dead on. And the camera on the right is the weaker camera. Tonight,
we don't really need to clean this so much because it ran and there was water in the tank.
So the camera on the right is the weaker camera, and that's doing the overhead. So, you know, what are you going to do, right? It's the cameras I have. See how coming from a side view, my hand is in the way. And the idea is to try to show as much as possible and not miss a shot that might be pertinent, because I don't rehearse this. So this was my thinking on it. Let me pause that. So yeah, Brett, the idea is to work natural. Now for you have to take it, but you want to know what the potential side effects are, and then you can use other methods, including nutritional and supplements and stuff, to try to offset all of that and help the whole condition and treat, you know, because your body, you don't just have heart disease. It's a systemic issue because it doesn't do it on its own. Like your heart doesn't get damaged on its own. Something does it, right? My diabetes didn't just come on its own, right? It was a combination of things, and I know what they were. And to get health back, it's a combination of things. And so in my case, those medications are optional. And but what's not optional is insulin. And so for me, I have to find other ways of doing it. So I have to eat a certain amount and not eat a certain amount. I have to inject a certain amount and not inject a certain amount. And at the same time, if you want to be stronger and happier and healthier, right? In my case, I have to take certain supplements. And one of those is vitamin D, because I was ridiculously low in vitamin D. And that definitely affected the diabetes. It may have been one of the things that contributed to me actually burning out my beta cells. It was one of the things. Yeah, from sepsis. Yeah, and so sepsis is a systemic condition because the blood takes the poison throughout your whole body, and it's damaged everything to some degree. Some of that stuff heals, but some of it doesn't right away, and so you want to create a condition in your body to where homeostasis can somehow return, but you can't fix certain damages. Like I can't make a beta cell work again. There's ways of doing that, but if you damage them, they don't come back per se. Heart tissue, that's one of the problems with a lot of these young folks from taking this, and they get essentially heart disease, right? It's a type of damage to the heart muscle. Heart muscle never returns. But there are other ways of dealing with it because it turns to scar tissue in the heart, and there are other ways of strengthening what's left and the rest of your system to support yourself. And for the most part, when you get older, you're not going to be lifting weights and doing a lot of that stuff anyway. So there is a certain amount of injury one can sustain. Like my back is broken, so I can't run anymore, right? For short distances to save my life, but that's about it. Brett says it's just about killed me. 3 weeks in the hospital on IV. Yeah, sure. I killed my mother, actually. That's ultimately what took her out. But what caused sepsis in her was when the medical system changed her health insurance to HMO, and she got a quack doctor that put her on all kinds of medications. And we looked at the list, and each one of them had such terrible side effects, meaning diseases, in which case caused her or aging body to fail and develop sepsis, which killed her. So they killed her, right? There's over 500,000 people every year that die from medical-induced death, essentially is what it is. They know exactly. And these aren't just malpractice. This is standard care that does this. Because they treat disease. They don't treat human beings. They treat diseases. They don't treat the whole person. They treat diseases. And they don't look to cure anything. They only look to treat. It's called treatment. And these drugs are very powerful. And in acute scenarios, they're very effective. But in long-term scenarios, they cause other diseases. And once you have one broken thing and another broken thing, it gets to a point where it will overwhelm your aging body and you'll die in a horrible way. So this is the problem. And it's one size fits all. Sometimes they adjust the dose a little bit here and there, but they have guidelines and they can't go outside of their guidelines. And that's a problem. So they can't be as inventive as they'd like to be because they're not allowed. And they don't want to, they don't want to hurt you, but it's not necessarily them. It's the whole establishment. But that's another thing. Don't get me started on that because I'll go off the deep end and get all weird. But I study a lot of this shit, and I've been doing it for years. But that's just how I am. Like, because I'm never happy. I'm always reading something and studying something, and since I never stopped doing that, it's just how I am. I wanted to show another thing here, somewhere in here. Where was it? I think, that machine's coming out nice. That machine, by the way, is like, I want to sell it. I didn't want to let it go. And I figured I would do a project like that in between all the customers that are coming in. Because, I might do, 2 machines for customers a day. Or sometimes it the day is weird and I finish a machine and I have a couple of hours left and I'm not ready to pack it in. Those kinds of projects, like today, Saturday, I finished up a customer, got him out. I had another customer to work on today. I wanted to fix the heat. So in between doing all of that, I was trying to play around with the computer, right? And how to take that footage and then also put that engine together And then the other day, towards the end of the day, I think I painted it and did whatever while I was doing other stuff. And I love projects like that because they're not a rush. They're doing in between other things. I've got 2 Toros that I want to do. The older ones, right, with the round, sexy bodies. One's a personal pace and one's a front-wheel drive. And I think I'm going to start off with, they're all stripped down. Everything is basically cleaned. And I want to derust the bodies, put some heavy primer on them, and then I'll leave them sit. And then when I have some time, I'll let them dry, come back, sand them a little bit, touch them up, leave it sit, come back another time, spray paint on it, right? When there's an area clean, I might clean off my other work table that I made and in the garage and clean up in the garage and then spray them and then leave them out for like a week, right? And then I'll put them together. And especially with a rear drive Toro, like a personal pace, showing how to put everything together is the reverse of how to take everything apart. So I can show somebody, like, I got to do a Toro soon on one of the slightly newer Toros with the bigger 22-inch body. It's like kind of more square and not as sexy. When a cable breaks in the back on rear drive, or when the plastic baffle in the back breaks, you have to take everything apart in the back. And I already did it. I filmed it, but I just never put it together and released it. If you want to replace that shit, you got to take everything apart. Which means you got to clean everything, which means and in some cases, it's actually easier to take the motor off and the handle and everything in the back off because you can lay it flat and you can get to everything and stuff's not going to go boing. You can control the mess that you're going to wind up with. You know, I don't service those, actually. When I get them here, if anything is like too far gone back there, that's a parts machine. I don't touch them. But every year I'll do a resto or something like that because I actually like them and I enjoy it. So I'll do like 1 or 2, right? And like I said, I blow them all apart. I think this is the one here. I wonder if this is it here. Let's just breeze through it real quick. I have a few of them here. Hold on. I just want to see. There's this one. Oh, this one was a mess. I had to re-tap it out. I mean, people really wreck these things. Yeah, this one got a new baffle. You can see it in there. Yeah, I think this might have been one of the ones. Look how pretty that is. I was fooling around with slow-mo because, you know, I just wanted to show segments to try to keep the video length, you know, shorter. And look how beautiful it is. You could see the paint. I think I just put a little clear on it. Yeah, this is front drive. Let me see. That's that one. This is a Toro repaint. Like this. Steps that I like to go through. I think that's intro, outro. My ugly mug. I don't even know if I still have any of the footage for that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, look at all the cabling. And oh, this is... Oh, I know what this one is. See if you guys know what this one is. Brett says, Briggs motor? Yeah, that Briggs. This one... Yeah, that's the newer ones of the Briggs. And the older ones... I do the older ones with the Takumis. Those are the ones I'll take all apart and restore once a year. Look at that.
I can't see it.
Look at this mechanism.
On the confidence monitor. All right, so now we're going to pull that back.
I went over this. The cable adjustment.
And set it up so that we can check the output shafts. We'll try and spin it.
Yeah, it's like a copy of Honda. You know, this is also one that I try to stay away from. But if it's overall in good shape, I'm not going to throw it out. I'm just doing some stuff here. Let me back up a little. That's before I took it off. See?
Now what else is going to fight me? Is this going to fight me?
And it's broken. The baffle is broken. However, on this model, you don't have to take everything off to replace the plastic baffle. All right. That's a win. So it depends upon the Toro, the year, the model, on this one with the blade clutch, because pretty much all of the plastic baffles will break. You know, I guess I think these machines are about 10 years old now, right? I'm thinking. So they're going to need service, and if you come across one for yourself, right? Because this is a nice machine, and if you wanted a nice machine for yourself and you found one out there in the wild, somebody selling at a garage sale or whatever, consider one of these. Consider it, right? You still got rear drive issues. You're still going to have to clean it. The baffle's going to be broken, but you don't need to go crazy to take the baffle off. It's 4 bolts. You have to take the wheels off, and you can replace the baffle. They're cheap. They're on Amazon. You don't need anything fancy. Clean everything good underneath there. The cable is much easier to replace on this model. You don't have to fight with the transmission. So even if the cable was broken, and as long as the gears are good and the bushings aren't worn out, they can be cleaned and re-lubed. Briggs motor, and it's a flathead. So you have that. They usually automatic choke, which are very nice. And personal pace. You know, just a nice machine, right? I mean, you 22-inch cut. It usually comes with, like, you can either buy the atomic blade or one of the knockoff versions, which are very nice as well. And you can sell it for good money because the right time of year with a mint bag, it's nice and clean, you'll get like $250 for it. Easy. They are very nice machines. And on this one, I set up with a switch. It had a switch on it. I don't know what the original configuration was, but it had a switch on it, like an actual toggle switch, which broke, like a push-button kill. So I replaced that. And what's nice about that is that when you let go of the handle, the engine doesn't stall, the blade stops, like my Honda. So it won't go idle down or anything, but you know, you can go pick up dog poop or move lawn furniture or something and come back and you don't have to re-pull it, which is useful. I have the electric start on my Honda, and that is useful because I have a bad back. So if you have a heart condition or a bad back, it's very good. Because one of the things with a bad back is they tell you you want to be careful about torquing. And so the perfect example of torquing or twisting and moving and pulling and lifting is pulling the pull cord on a lawnmower, right? That if you have a bad back, that's like one of the worst things you could do. So if you don't have to constantly pull on a lawnmower, that's, I think, is a considerable benefit, and it's something you want to think about. So I do recommend those. Those are really nice. What else did I see in here? I don't remember which one. I don't know where it is. It might be buried. This is another Toro. So I have a whole bunch of Toro stuff, you know, to put out there. Now this is another neat one. This is also like a newer, not brand new, but like the newer of the 22-inch bodies. And you can see I did a cable install on this one, which I need to get out. I need to get that. This is the time of year to show all this stuff. I have a cable install video that has almost 20,000 views on it. So, simple, sometimes the simple things, like this is before I started really digging into it. But it's not, yeah. Yeah, some basic cable install shots. Nice new cable. These are easy to do. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. One last take. And that's when you see. Nice fresh cable. This is the high wheel with the front drive. Another nice machine to get your hands on. This one has the adjustable rear handle with the stow and go on it. You know, kind of like stow and go style handle. It folds up for space savings. And, you know, that's a nice thing to have. Garage saver, space saver, shed space saver, as opposed to like the new variant that they have, that Toro has, that actually sits on its ass like this and everything folds up and you could just shove it out of the way. That's really nice. But, you know, those are like $600. I don't even know what they are now. They're really expensive. Might be more than that. What's this looking at? This out of the way. Yeah, very common. Let me show you this one.
All right, I sucked it out and.
Oh, shut up for a minute, Arch. Come on. I was talking about this earlier. Really common this time of year, and I showed the customer. I just took a snapshot. See, Brett says, would love to get my hands on an 80s Toro. Cast deck, blade clutch, and 2-stroke Suzuki engine. Oh, wow. Good luck.
So he's got water in his gas. And of course, that's just some I had laying around. That's what it should look like. So we're going to let that settle out. And let's take a look at his air cleaner. Right? Then we'll pull the top off. I figured as much. Okay, needs a cleaner. Needs an air cleaner. That's not terrible. All right, now 10 millimeter. Okay, we'll pop that off. And close this. I also told him, by the way, fellas, you got to make sure, and this is a little short I have, you got to make sure this stays clean, because if this gets filthy, little holes here, if that gets too filthy, what'll happen is it'll block there's carbon in this. It's like a carbon filter to catch the vapors coming out, and that gets plugged. And usually there's a cage in here, but this one doesn't have it. It's a fuel level indicator. You don't want to overfill it, and you don't want to get this dirty. The gas will go in, and the dirt will go in, and it'll lock this up. You'll start pulling a vacuum. It'll begin to stall. All right, let me get the top off. We'll bring it outside, and also I want to get the blade off. So you know what? We'll do the blade now.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, Brett, the one that you want, I'd love to come across one of those. I've never seen one up here. I saw, was it the Suzuki engine or it was the other one? The Cowie. Wasn't a Toro, it was, I forget who made it. It's the one with the big casters in the front. I had one. I sold that. When I sold that, I redid it, made it nice. When I sold that, as I was selling it, other customers were either saw it for sale or were here, and they all were like, I want one. I'm like, they're not easy to find, you know, not here. Everything is like a little bit more dependent on the area that you're in. The size of the lawns, and whatever manufacturer, I think, you know, was trying to hawk something in that particular area. Like, when I first started doing this, I used to see a lot of the Cub Cadets. What is here in terms of tractors? 80s and 90s. Cub Cadet lawnmowers and tractors were real popular. Mikey bought a nice Cub Cadet. He sold it already. He was going to keep it, but then he sold it. I don't have any money anymore, so I would have bought it because some of them are really nice. Not the new crap ones that I have in the back that I got to fix the engines, the Kohler Weezer engines that are just crap. The older ones, the ones with the real cast, steel and solid steel construction, and kind of like my Sears Craftsman that's out there. I keep telling myself I'm going to get to it. I'll get to it. I just got to clear the decks on everything else. Yeah, here's the piece of crap. One boy that I was telling you about. This guy. Oh, wait, here, I'll back up. And there's a hole in the deck.
All right. Let me turn the light on. Let me take. All right, blade is sharpie, cleaned up a little bit, and I checked the balance, it's fine. You can see here, you can see all the spalling. Right, this will come right off. Like if I grab that hard enough. And then there's holes here in the deck, and we'll get a look at that. Look, you can see some light coming through. Right? So it's shot. It'll get some more use out of it. It was left on the ground, and I have a couple of videos on these where I show that these are the worst machines on the planet. They just are. Now I'm dumping the oil while I'm over here. I think it's done. It's good enough. It's black and it's got some gook in it. Right, we'll get rid of that.
I don't know if I have
really
a shot
black.
of it when I first got it. I don't think so. Let me see. Is this it? No. Maybe this might be it. Wow, Dayton. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, she's crusty. Okay, there's even some junk around the cap. That's what I always worry about.
It's just
But
not
we'll bring
taken
it out
care
with
of
a
at
clean.
all.
I just sent him some pics. What does the oil look like? Yeah, she's crusty. Ooh. Like, is there even any oil in it? Like, almost none. Yeah. There's like no oil in it.
This is one I just finished. With new tires. Juan bought that. He said he had a problem with it, and I told him to bring it back. I haven't heard from him. I don't know if he's busy or whatever. These are how I like to make them. Which one was sold through Granger, Brett? Which one? The Dayton? Because Dayton is like the brand of Granger, right? Yeah. Yeah. Granger was good. Well, Granger, if it was sold through Granger, I mean, up until recently, right? Granger, you had to have an account with Granger. So generally you were some kind of a business or whatever, you had an account. And they didn't sell to John Q. Public. Back not that long ago, 80s. I don't know, maybe they changed it in the 90s or so. But 70s, 80s, definitely you had to have an account with Granger to get anything. It was mostly for businesses that bought from Granger. That's how, when I worked for Abco Refrigeration, like there were no street people walking in. They'd throw you out. You had to have an account, and generally you needed to have either a tax number or something, and that was how business was done through companies like that. Just looking around here. This is when I first started cleaning it. There's one here.
I'm just letting it drip dry a little bit. I already blew it off once. But we're just going to let it drip a little bit more. We'll bring it in a little bit later. And you can see some of the... we'll probably get a better look, but you can see some of the deposition, right? That is actually like a salt in the form of a zinc. Looks what I need here. We're going to have to bend this back. But, yeah, I'm just letting it dry. All right, we'll look at it in a little bit.
That's this product here. Let's see. I like this product. I gotta get more.
All right, this is the product I like to use, Kirker. And it's a fast etch. Eastwood has something similar. I'll put up some cuts. I mix it sometimes with a little bit of water, just not much. No, not like a 50-50, like maybe like a 10 or 15%, maybe 20 the most. And I just happen to like this product. There are other products. I will eventually get other products as well, but I like this one. We use it for body prep, etching metal, and it leaves a zinc coating so you won't get flash rust.
Yeah, Brett, that was how they did it. Yeah, you had to have a business or somebody in order to get stuff out of there. And my air compressor in the basement, I got through one of my old bosses. Nice guy. And I had that thing forever. And I still am using the pump from it. I just had a bigger tank, which I got a Worthington compressor. It had a gigantic dual stage, all cast iron. Damn near killed myself trying to get it up in and out of there. My friend Steve gave me a hand getting it down there. It's so heavy, we had to lever it down with winches and pulleys. And he's like, if you move, I'm not helping you ever get this thing out. It's going to stay down there. Well, the pump head died, and it was too far gone, and I just took the old Dayton head and put it on there. It's too small. It's a huge tank. Would I take it back up? It depends. Like, I'm thinking about moving again because I can't afford to stay here. So I'm like, my brother still wants me to go down to North Carolina. It would be the last thing that I would take. Like, I would try to pack up everything else first, except for the winch and some rope and cable and chain, and then maybe, okay, we'd see if we could rip it out of there, because the tank is big and, you know, it's still useful, right? If I could get it loaded into a train car, right? It's heavy. It is really heavy. All right, just gonna look through a couple more things. Now, this one's kind of neat, right? Speaking of Toro. All right, this belongs to Juan, and I will get to it at some point. I started cleaning it up. This is aluminum body. It's a 21-inch.
Let's see, important. For full engine life and maximum performance, use only Opti4 4-cycle engine lubricant. Well, what do you know? Well, go away. This nice old Toro SR4 Super Recycler with super care. All right, Toro, guaranteed to start. 190cc Briggs engine. It smokes like a bastard. All right, you know what? Let's get it off the table. I put it up here, but I want to show you how much it smokes. Yeah, aluminum deck. So what we're going to do, this is Juan's, so he's had it forever, and the other guy probably had it for a while. It is a personal disgrace. So I think what we're going to do is let me show you it smoking, and then we're going to take it apart and put it on the clean line, and I'm going to be working on this as I work on some other things. So I'm also going to want to get the covers off and get in here. We're going deep. Let's get this thing working good for him. Probably going to put another motor on, fellas. Wait till you see. All right, let's set it up. So we're going to look in, which is nice. Oh, no.
You hear it? It's struggling.
There it goes.
It'll start smoking in a minute. It turns down. It's struggling. It will actually, once it starts burning some of that oil, it will run better. But it will smoke a lot. The longer I leave it run, hear it?
Oh yeah, look at the cloud. Look, there's a cloud. Yeah, I don't know, fellas. It's dripping, right? Leaking down from there. I mean, it's oil bound. But let's check it out, right? Look at it's puking all over the front. It's getting worse. You know, it could be too much oil. That could be.
I think that's the problem. It's got a lot of oil in it. So, and when I pulled crappy air cleaner off, which had never been changed, it was just oil everywhere. So it's coming from the crankcase vent, and being sucked in. But because the air filter is so bad, it was all over the filter housing. It could be, there's a lot of oil in it. There's actually more than there should be. And it could just be oil bound. Like, you know, I told him, I said, that's the first thing I want to do. After I get it all cleaned up, and which I think I already cleaned it. Get it all cleaned up, dump the oil out of it, try to flush some out from the combustion chamber. You can't even do a compression test because with that much oil, you'll get an erroneous reading. So I'll put some of my my cleaner inside of it, my magical sauce, tranny fluid, gasoline mix. Try to flush it out and dump the oil out of it. Put like a correct amount of, you know, decent used oil in that I always keep. You know, clean, you know, with no sand in it or whatever. And start it back up, throw it in the back of the yard, and let it run for a half hour and see what it does, see if it cleans up. Then let it sit. If it doesn't leak all over the place, let it sit. cool down, and then restart it and see what it does, and then I'll check the compression. And if it stops smoking, it might. Like, you won't know until you put the correct amount of oil in it and try to clean everything out. It's stuck inside of everything. It's all up in the crankcase, breather. It's in the muffler. So it's going to have to run for like a half an hour before you know anything. I don't think it was the auto choke. I think it was that it's got so much oil that it won't really run until it starts to get warm enough, right, to try to burn or push the oil through because it's thick. So it could be the choke, but with everything like that, like the way it is right now, everything is bound up, right? So I'm not going to give up on the motor until I take it apart and clean it a little bit and fool around a little bit more, and then we'll see, because it might be fine. Yeah, exactly, Brett. Like, between all of that and its absolute neglect and somewhat of abuse, but the rest of it's mint. Everything is in really, like, not mint, but it's like in really nice shape. Aluminum deck and all that. Those are nice lawnmowers. They could easily be lifetime. They have those aluminum gear housings in the back, and then it has a similar housing in the front, and they all have grease fittings. So this is meant to last. It was, a good machine, very expensive. You'd have to spend a lot of money today to get something of equal or better value, and so it's definitely worth it. So I sold him. When he was here, for whatever reason, I don't remember what it was for, he saw up on the table that black one that I finished, so he bought it. But then he couldn't start it. I don't know if he was using it and it wouldn't start, or I don't know. He didn't respond. He was supposed to drop it or come by Thursday. He might have gotten busy. I don't know. Whatever's wrong with it, I'll fix it. But he fell in love with the black one that I had, and he took that home. And he says, "Well, just leave the Toro here for now, and I'm not in a rush for it." I'm like, all right, I'll noodle around with it when I have time. So that'll be on the channel at some point. I think it'll be fun to do just to see if we can resurrect it and get it back. And when he's ready to buy it, I don't know what's wrong with the black one. It could be anything. The cable wasn't all that great. I fixed the cable. It could have been anything. Like, I asked him, was it hot when it wouldn't start? He just sent me a video of it not pulling on it and it not starting. And then I said, come by, when you can. And he said Thursday, and then I didn't hear from him again. He gets busy and disappears. So I don't know. My question was it running? Were you cutting your lawn? Was it hot? And did it shut off? Coil. I asked him if it had fuel in it. He said, yeah, he knew to put good fuel in it. Right? We talked about that. So there was fuel in it. I don't care. It's one, and it's a beautiful machine. And when it comes here, I'll figure it out. It might be fine. I don't know. All I know is, I'll find out. Like I said, he disappears sometimes, so we'll figure it out. But this is a nice machine. I think it'd be fun. Look at the underside of it. Hold on.
Well, it's not too big.
I like these mowers a lot. Look at that.
Underneath here. Blade's not great, but it's
not terrible.
It's worn. I like this. Deck is fouled. That's all fouled up.
See the little grease fitting?
Look at all that cleaned off and everything. All right, I'm gonna go put it out on a wash line, and I'll wash it as I have time. This is the kind of machine where I'll be using the heavier pressure washer, right? This is a little bit more than like what an electric washer can do.
Yeah, I had to use a real washer. A real pressure washer. What's this?
Alright, so I cleaned up on it.
I was playing around with a wand. Yeah, this is something I was working on, a project. There's another one that I did a little while back. Look how beautiful that is. I love the way these come out. This one I made really nice. This is a black beauty. Sometimes I put a sheen on them it depends upon how nice the body is. With the easy walk. A little crusty underneath, but this is how I get them. Yeah, it can't breathe. Let's see. Uh-oh. Wrangles dogs in the doghouse. Must have done something to his wife didn't like. I'm just like poking around here at this point. Here's the Craftsman. We'll get to this in a bit. Hold on. This is a teaser.
Look what my got.
Yep.
So what's this for, you say? Well, fellas, pretty soon, right? We'll get to it. Stand by. I can't wait. I'm excited.
I got the head gasket. Mike says it needs a head gasket, right? I'm sure it needs a lot more than that, but the head is leaking really bad, so you can't really get it started. I think he said he put another carburetor on it or something. So I will get to it at some point. Like, as soon as I get like one of the tractors or so out of here, a couple of tractors out, and some of the spring lawnmowers done, and customers out of here a little bit, I'll clean it up. I'll drag it in. We'll put a head gasket on that thing, and we'll start it up and get it running and see if we can move it around. And I got to get tires for it. Obviously, they're just totally blown out. The front tires are blown out. That's all I need for now. I was going to put like a couple of wheelbarrow tires on the front just because I don't have any money. So I was like, just so I can get it started, get it cleaned up, get it running. And then I want to put some of that acid wash on it to stabilize the body and the rust and everything, and then bring it in. And I might even spray it down with like a rust preserver or whatever. Even like chain wax, which is what I put on the big tractor. I think I just kind of hosed it down with chain wax and rubbed it in, and it's been fine ever since. You can also put clear on it and keep the patina for a little while until you get tired of that. But I don't like doing that because then you have clear over rust. It will stop it from getting worse, but you have clear on it. So if you really want to do something with it, you have clear in the way. Whereas if you just put like chain wax on it and rub it in, and you get rid of some of the rust with that rust remover that I was talking about that I showed earlier. That'll clear away some of the overburden of the rust. It'll stabilize it. Then you put the chain wax on and you rub it in, and you can go back to it at any time you want. If you want to paint it or get rid of more rust or whatever you want to do, you don't have clear in the way. So the only time I really use clear is when I'm not going to be touching it for a long time. So, but yeah. Anyway, I'm getting tired. What time is it? Yeah, it's like 10:36. So I figure we'll call it here, fellas. Hopefully everybody's doing good and you're enjoying the early part of spring. Because it's not going to last. Like I said, today was very cold and windy. I don't know what the weather's going to be for the next couple of days, but it should be decent. We're going to get a nice spring coming at us. With all the rain and everything, the grass is getting really thick. All right. See you later, TJ. I'm going to see if I can... Let's see. Can I... intro? Yeah. I'll use this one.